Welcome in, Ultimate fans, back to sunny San Diego for Day 2 of the Western Ultimate League Winter Cup 2021. I'm Jenna Weiner here with Katie Killebrew for Game 1 between the Utah Wild and the Seattle Tempest. Katie, these teams had a bit of different fortunes yesterday. Both games decided by a single point. The Tempest losing to hometown host the San Diego Super Bloom, while the Utah Wild took down the San Francisco Falcons. Tell us a little bit about these teams, where they're at, what they're thinking coming into this morning.
I mean, those games yesterday were so exciting. The Utah Wild is coming from a lot of different places. This is the first time they've really been able to come together as a team, and they had a huge opportunity yesterday in order to show their medal. I don't know if you saw Megan Maxfield's very beautiful chest-high layout block, but both teams playing very physical defense. I think that in talking to Coach Tanya Reitz yesterday, the Utah Wild is just looking to come together in this game and really show what they have as the Mountain West.
Yeah, and for the Seattle Tempest, last-second defeat in the nightcap game, a team that arguably in a bit of an upset against Super Bloom, and that actually puts them in the bottom half of the table. We can see here the team standings currently. So you'll see that not only do we have the record here, but there are stats points and fan points as well, so with the LA Astra leading at 25 points, followed by the Super Bloom at 22, the Wild at 21, the Tempest at 7, and San Francisco Falcons and the Arizona Sidewinders at the bottom, stuck at 0 points.
Yes, but I think that could change very quickly with the fan points being awarded later in the day.
Absolutely. Fan points coming in with the Fan Fantasy Contest as well as the Instagram contest. If you go to the WU League on Instagram, you can see different teams' Instagram posts. Likes will count to 8 points for the winning team. We're talking about the stats leaders. Saw some pretty good performances across the board. Talk us through them.
Yeah, so in goals, both Steph Lim here in Seattle and Dina Elimelech for LA, which I play for Astra, so I'm very excited to see her way up on that stat board. They have 4 goals apiece, which means that both teams will be awarded equal points for those fan stats. And then in assists, we have Avery Jones from San Diego and Rebecca Keston from Utah. So both with Seattle and Utah being in those fan categories, things could change very quickly today. So we'll be definitely looking at those players.
Absolutely. And for blocks, Chena Titcomb, the standout defensive player with 4 blocks as well. So we're talking a little bit about the scoring format, the different ways that it shows up. It is the team with the highest point total at the end of the Winter Cup, but the points accumulated between the gameplay of winning games as well as the daily statistical categories of goal differential, longest bowls, goals leaders, assist leaders, and blocks leaders. So for goal differential, the Los Angeles Astra, with their 6-point differential on day 1 over the Arizona Sidewinders, took down the 4 points for that top goal differential. And then you can see the fan engagement, 10 points, the fan fantasy game. In the fan fantasy game, there were bets about which team will have multiple players that are particularly successful in goals, assists, and blocks, but also individual players. So, for example, in this game, if you're looking out to try and earn points on that side bet, if a player gets 5+ goals over the course of the weekend, that is extra bonus points in the Fan Fantasy Contest. Steph Lim in this game sitting at 4. If she picks up another goal or 2, if you had Steph Lim in your side bet for goals, you're in really good shape there for the Fan Fantasy Contest.
You are. Very good. I think that it adds an extra element of watching not only the games, but each player's performance so that fans really get involved with who's on the field and what's going on.
Absolutely. And as we see the teams jogging out onto the field, for this game, it'll be interesting to see with the Wild, can they maintain the momentum from that win over the San Francisco Falcons? The Wild would look to shoot deep frequently, and especially with Keston, number 4 on the end. We'll see if they can replicate that. Wind conditions are low at the moment, and if they can keep that up, that might put some pressure on the Tempest, who are really desperate for a win here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see 2 very different teams today than we saw last night. They both have had a chance to play on this field and in this format, and they've had a chance to view film of the other team. So there's a lot of new information and a lot of time to digest what happened yesterday.
Absolutely. And for the Tempest, again, in their game against the San Diego Super Bloom was running zone most of that game despite low wind conditions. It will be interesting to see if Utah decides to pull out a similar zone look to try and slow the Seattle team down, or if they stick to their game plan that worked so well against the Falcons.
It will be interesting to see what they do. I am very excited and can't wait to see what kind of strategies they employ.
Should be a fun one. We see the observers walking out. And now for the opening flip to decide position and who will start with the pulling and receiving initially. A few notes about the rules as a reminder if you were joining us for the first time this morning, or if you tuned in yesterday, a quick reminder, there is a 7-second stall. And so that's going to be something to consider. Also with quarters, the pull and receiving will switch each quarter. We're going to listen in now to that initial flip.
That was only on like fouls or calls where normally you would have to go back and try to find a previous position. It's not on all calls. It's just right. We're probably just supposed to echo, but you know, we're also trying to make that systematic as possible. So yeah, but yeah, we'll if it looks like you guys have that, then we're just echoing. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. The echo. You guys are louder. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Well, okay. Okay. So Shu and TH or Keith, Byrne, Sticks, you're welcome to ask us questions at any time on that. So Arizona as being, Utah being visitors, you'll you have the privilege of calling the coin in the air. We're actually going to flip 2 coins today. So we're going to
same and different.
So odd or even, same or different. Winner of the coin toss then gets preference over possession or position and make that call. So you want to show them the coins, gentlemen, like red side and the blue side. Call it in the air. Are you ready, Utah?
Same or different.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Coins show different. You will receive, okay? All right, I'll show the audience your picks.
Okay, so
right,
Utah winning the flip, opting to receive. Seattle will start in the left side of your screen, starting on defense, starting with the pull. What they were talking about there at the beginning was something that is a bit different from what folks may be used to from USA Ultimate style rules, in which in a situation where otherwise in standard, say, USA Ultimate rules, players may have to stay where they are or revert to where they were, there is a 4 count before the disc fully comes in to allow players to get set up, the defense to get set up as well, offense to move around a little bit as well. I think it adds a potentially really dynamic way that potentially shifts how teams can move and also helps the flow of the game. But it's interesting that it's something that the teams are still working out. A lot of these players, these observers, not too long ago were at USA Ultimate Club Nationals, still getting used to the rule set, still adjusting to how the calls are made, whether that count is made by the observers or the players or both. So it's interesting to see, and as the league goes on, as we look to 2022, how these rules are implemented and develop and are understood by both the players and the observers.
Yeah, I can say that playing with that pre-stall rule yesterday was really interesting because suddenly instead of having to defend hard for 7 seconds, you have 11, and that player can be really out of position, and that unclarity in that pre-stall really makes it dynamic for offense to take advantage on big throws out of that stop disc situation, which doesn't usually happen if everyone has to stay totally stationary.
Exactly.
I like it. It's more fun.
It's more fun, and I think as you mentioned, it allows for more of those big plays. And I think also noticing yesterday that teams are sort of figuring out what that looked like for them, trying to figure out what sort of movement was optimal, and I think that's going to be a developing edge for the sport. As we see the first pull go up to Utah, Keston receives, throwing up to Kyla Crisp in the center. Up the field to Bingham.
Yeah, it looks like Seattle is playing a person defense, playing force forehand. There's a pick called, but I don't know that it will go back.
Pick call doesn't seem to fully affected it.
No. It's a big turn in that first point.
Big turn. Sue going to pick up the disc for Seattle. Resets immediately to Titcomb in the middle. Back to Sue across up the field. Cartay thinks about it. Holsters, overthrows the receiver.
Garrity just having it slip through her hands.
Teams may be settling in. We have an earlier start this morning than yesterday, especially with Seattle having the late game and the early game back-to-back. Miller now with it on the sideline, up the line to Stoller. Uncontested strip foul. Stoller remains with the disc. Nice little reset back to Miller across to the near sideline to Keston.
Oh, stall count rising.
Pick called. It'll be interesting to see where the stall count is at when the disc comes back in.
Yeah, that definitely looks like a pick. You can't see it on your screen right now, but there is just a mob of people in the back there. Ooh, beautiful inside throw.
Quick throw by Keston to Stoller. To Bingham for the Utah Wild score. They do hold after a couple of turns. Team settling in a little bit. Keston is showing that quick trigger that we saw from yesterday. Wild, solid first point, all things considered. Had that initial turnover, but were able to get it back and convert it this time. Keston, great low release there, and then it made it easy enough for Stoller to get it to Bingham.
Yeah, great timing out of that stack for that continue as well.
So now we'll get our first chance to see the Tempest offensive line as Corey Bingham walks off the field. Again, a reminder for the folks at home, the team is called the Utah Wild, but they have players hailing from across the Mountain West. Bingham is one of the folks out of the Idaho area. They also have folks hailing from Montana, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado as well. So a diverse team as they send the pull off to the Tempest. Centering throw to Songer. Undefended initially, low throw.
Beautiful around backhand. Yeah.
Kawhi.
Seattle's handler core has worked together a lot, and you can see the chemistry as they just float the disc using the whole horizontal space of the field.
Yeah, Tempest doing a really good job there, finding
Just
easy
outside.
throws. Swinging it back around. Songer in the middle now. Back across the Stern. Stern to Kawhi. You're a few yards out. Ooh, clean.
Spicy dagger through the middle.
That's Steph Lim with the assist this time to Amy Kawhi. Lim yesterday picked up a lot of goals. This time picks up an assist.
Yes. I mean, Steph Lim, Shira Stern, and Amy Kawhi, a lot of those players have played together on the club team Seattle Riot, and their chemistry is really coming together. You can see their movement across the field. They have options on both sides. If Utah wants to stop that flow, they're going to have to try some tricky defense or play a lot tighter on those people.
Yeah, it's something where yesterday we were talking about the developing chemistry of this Utah Wild team, who actually, in fact, had not really played together until just this weekend because they are so scattered throughout the Mountain West. And for the Wild, yesterday it was partially a matter of we're just going to shoot when we can because we're going to trust our teammates and develop the chemistry on the fly.
Yeah.
For Seattle, some of it's already there, which we'll see which ends up playing more an advantage today as Spalding puts up the pole. Chris once again in the center for the Wild offense. Tempest playing mostly a matchup, but sagging off the Utah handlers a bit.
Yeah, a really dynamic defensive look.
Kircher now with the disc up the field to Bingham.
Close to the end zone. Beautiful upline cut, just inbounds. That was really smooth offense from Utah. Yesterday we saw them running a lot of vertical stack, and that was a horizontal look. I wonder if they've really worked in this morning time before their last game to hone in that offense.
And it's something where it's a team that, again, has a lot of experience from around the Mountain West, feeling pretty comfortable. Corey Bingham already on the board with a couple of goals. If you had her on your list for goals this weekend in the side bet for players with 5+ goals, you feel pretty good right now. Great give and go look there. Bingham throwing the pass and then immediately going up the line for Miller. About as easy as a goal as you'll see. Nice clean flow up that far sideline.
Exactly. I had a coach always tell me that it was easier to work hard early and get easy goals than it was to make a highlight reel toe grabbing edge. But I think that we're going to see some bigger plays as this game develops.
Olsen with the pull for the Wild. Centering to Sue for the Tempest.
Stall count rising. Big flick from Sue. Nice space throw.
Great throw to Kawhi. Kawhi centering it back to Mercer. Yep.
Ooh. Nice layout, D.
It's a great block, but I think it was Wallen there, getting in front of the disc, getting her match up to the front cone, now trying to immediately get into the space, going deep, but it's going to be a bit too short for Wallen to get to.
Yeah, that was D'd by Jennifer Norris, more commonly known in the Frisbee community as J-No.
Sue and Titcomb working in the backfield for Seattle. Up to Mercer. Carte on the far sideline. Little inside throw to Mercer. Easy enough as it goes for the Tempest. Again, showing some chemistry. Mercer and Sue playing on the mixed club championship winning team Seattle BFG this year. Some of that chemistry coming into play as Mercer gets the goal and is very excited about it as Seattle draws level.
Exactly, as they should be. But as we can see, as these teams are settling into this game, we're seeing, you know, defenders becoming in better positions, big layout blocks. I think we're going to get, I hope we're in for a game of very tight defense and big plays. Because right now we're holding, and I want this holding pattern to end so that we can get some high-flying ultimate.
It's been pretty clean so far. Just those initial turns on the first point. Both teams feeling pretty comfortable right now. Again, conditions about perfect here. Probably in the mid-60s or so. Basically no wind to speak of. There seems to be an offside call, which means that the Wild will start with the disc at half field, giving them a very short field to work with here. Keston with the disc, looking to start the play at half field.
Yeah, Seattle again playing a hard person defense. They're very tight on these marks.
Well, inside throw, but McCready not able to reel it in. Seattle with an opportunity to break here. Stern with the disc now.
To Lim.
Nice inside throw there. Kelly puts it up. Garrity! Out. Not quite in the end zone yet, but a great grab. And it's easy enough to Alex Fussell. And that's a Seattle break. They take the lead 3-2.
Yeah, that was a really great point by that Seattle defensive line. That tight pressure on that, creating a pressure. I mean, it was just a slight error on the throw, but at this level, those kind of errors will punish you.
Absolutely, and we see the throw here by Alyssa Kelly. Trying to find Garrity. Great grab by Garrity, just not quite in the end zone. Points, easy enough for Fussell. And Garrity, we know that she has wheels from her time in the club scene with Seattle Mixtape, showing it once again in the pro scene for the Tempest. They should feel pretty good about that defensive line, taking advantage of that opportunity and punching it in for the initial lead.
Yes, that was a very, very big defensive hold for them. We'll have to see what the Wild does on this next point.
It's like mostly a standard offensive line for the Wild and a standard defensive line for the Tempest. So the Wild may be thinking we just need to settle, try it again, and then let our defensive line go at it if they can get the hold here on offense. But
and Seattle comes out in a zone look.
Zone look looks like a three-person cup sort of look, but they get it up the line. Kircher with it now, putting the disc up.
Oh.
Point
Beautiful
perfect
space
throw. Sarah Staller with that one. Just incredible, right over the defender's head. Basically no chance for the block. Staller easy enough, but beautiful, beautiful throw by Kircher. That flick just floating enough to get to a receiver.
Yeah, that was a really smooth hold. That was really good coaching from the Seattle side, right? Playing a tight person defense and then calling a zone the next point. And Utah responds beautifully by just putting it out into space.
Nice throw there, and Staller at the young age of 40 showing that she still has the wheels to get open and get up over defender. Already a goal and an assist so far this game as we are tied once again at 3-all.
There we go. Exciting stuff. Here we go. The pull is about to come.
Points coming quick and fast, just under 4 minutes left in the game. Already 3-all. And the Wild this time with their own little zony look. Looks somewhat reminiscent of the zone that the San Diego Super Bloom were running against the Tempest last night. Maybe the Wild saw that, decided to try it out for themselves as well. Sue getting across the field to Titcomb now. With about 20 yards to go or so. Sue unmarked, gives and goes.
Yeah, we can hear a lot of talk happening on the field. I don't know if that's confusion or communication.
Towing grab
Just
for
inside.
Sue from Titcomb. That is a Seattle Tempest score. They lead 4-2-3. Seattle veterans getting it done alongside the Mixed Club Breakout Player of the Year, Cheryl Sue.
Yeah, Cheryl Sue has had really a great year, and I think we talk a lot about her as a player and not enough about her as a coach. She's one of the coaches of UC Davis, which had a upset to try to make the College Nationals D1 team for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, the UC Davis College women's team. We see the throw here. Great concentration by
Just
Sue.
inside.
Fantastic grab
Great work.
there. Great awareness. Just managing to get the toe in before the line there. College National Championships coming up next weekend in Norco, California, just a couple hours north of here. Probably see some of the players here out there coaching Sue and others as well, as the Wild now receive the pull. Down 1, but still a close game. Anyone can be in it. Seattle once again in that zone.
Trying to trap it on this sideline and just floating it over the top. That's the danger of throwing a zone with no wind.
No wind, and Miller has the chops to break open the zone. Little inside throw there now as they get it back to Keston, 20 yards out from the end zone. Hammer from Keston. We saw that yesterday, and it's Miller. That's a Wild score. And these points are some real fun ones. You love to see Keston pulling out that hammer once again for the Utah score.
Yeah, Seattle actually had a very smooth transition from their zone to a person defense, but a hammer like that over the top is going to beat most defenses, whether it's zone or person.
We saw Keston be very comfortable with that yesterday, already racking up a number of assists. Again, fan fantasy contest, if you had Keston in your list of players who'd be racking up the assists this weekend, you gotta be feeling pretty good about yourself. They toss a good one to Miller.
Exactly. Maybe we should have added a category that was most completed hammers, and Keston would have won it swimmingly.
In a landslide, as it were. Tempest back out there again. It's like a bit of a blended line for them, as we see a bit of a roller pull out of the Wild. Stopped there, a little bit of an extra beneficial roll forward. This centering to Spalding. Typically on the Seattle defensive line, we're crossing over here. Up the field, it's on the sideline. Throw.
Oh, what a great catch.
Inbound.
What a brilliant catch.
I thought it was Alexa
Ramirez.
That was incredible. Just up the sideline, as close as you come. That's a highlight reel play that we are going to see for days to come.
Yes, Ramirez.
Disc on the sideline with Lim. Oh, incredible grab by Ramirez. We see Lim with a little step out, just enough float on it. Ramirez, that's a good goal for Seattle. Some great tight defense there by Maxfield, certainly making it about as difficult as you can make it for Ramirez.
Yeah, you can see her just saying, oh man, right? I think if she had laid out, she could have gotten that deep, but I don't think she was aware that Ramirez had the angle on it.
And that throw just about petering out of bounds, but Ramirez making sure it was good for Seattle. We're already at 5-4, still over 2 minutes left in this first quarter. This is a fun one, folks. If you are watching, be sure to tell your friends to get in on the action. It's going to be a good one for the next few quarters here. Wild with the disc now. Bingham up the field to McCready. Puts it across to Keston. Back to McCready, wide open in the middle of the field. No one on them. Back to Miller. Wild moving quickly. Call, though. Looks like a pick.
I think they're just discussing where the disc goes back to. Who was picked and where we come in.
Yeah.
I think that is not unique to WUL.
Right.
I think most areas of ultimate play will have you trying to figure out where the pick comes back in.
Yeah, and here we see that pre-stall motion, the 4-3-2-1, allowing Titcomb to get on the mark on Keston. Was able to get it back to Miller. Oh, Titcomb almost with another highlight reel block.
Yeah.
Putting a great mark on Keston. It's going to float just out of the reach of Staller. Not quite able to get there.
Yeah, Titcomb maybe not getting that block, but certainly putting enough pressure on that throat to create a turnover there for her team.
Impressive defensive mark from Seattle superstar Sue from the sideline, centering to Mercer on the end zone. Utah applying good pressure, but Mercer up the line and puts it deep.
Giant throw from Charlie Mercer.
Ricarte chasing it down, able to reel it in. Puts it back to Titcomb and the line to Garrity. That is a score for Seattle. It's a break from them.
Yeah, that
up
was
6-4.
Yeah, that was such precision by Seattle at the end. Sometimes after you have those big hucks, you have a little bit of chaos. And Seattle just settled right into that defense to make it easy for their players to score. I would love to see that throw from Charlie Mercer again. That was just a giant backhand. Wow.
Beautifully weighted, floated out there. Ricarte loses the hat along the way. Yep. Looks to Garrity, not quite there. Resets to Titcomb, who's able to find Garrity past the bidding Wild defender. Seattle with a 2-goal cushion right now. And again, we're only in the first quarter, still plenty of game to go. Wild had a good showing yesterday and making a bit of comebacks and swings in the game against San Francisco Falcons. We'll see if they can make a bit of a comeback here as they come out in a vertical stack. Moving the disc across the field to Williams. Up the line to Meha. Meha, Skying Blade has 2 players in the area.
Oh.
But neither come down with it. May have a call here. Wallen seemingly signaling foul. No contest. Wild with the disc on the front of the end zone with Maxfield. Maxfield looking for the reset.
Rising.
Alvey with it. Back to Maxfield. Back to Alvey. Handler's working it on that reset. Alvey a little bit stranded here. Timeout has been taken, seemingly from the Utah Wild sideline. Clock has hit zeros, so we'll see if the timeout was taken before the clock.
Yeah, so what the observer is saying is that after the clock zeros, you're not allowed to call a timeout anymore. So they won't be allowed to sub, but they are, I guess, letting them continue to play on. So this possession will conclude, and that will conclude this quarter.
Yeah, Western Ultimate League playing with possession rules at the end of quarters. As long as the team with possession, when the clock hits zeros, holds possession and can score, as they just did.
Great grab from Maxfield to end the quarter.
Maxfield able to get Utah not needing that timeout. That means they will have 2 in the second quarter for the rest of this half. Little floaty flick from Alvey, and Maxfield able to come up with it.
Yeah, for a team that came in with not very much chemistry, they definitely seem to be on the same page.
Yeah, and currently we have a 1-point margin. The Seattle Tempest leading the Utah Wild 6-5. We'll be right back heading into quarter 2.
Alti Photos is the official photographer of Winter Cup. Visit them at altiphotos.com. The Western Ultimate League is sponsored by Breakmark Apparel. They make our players and our fans look great on or off the ultimate field. Shop the full line of Western Ultimate League team gear at breakmark.com. Suju Juice is an organic, non-GMO cold-pressed juice company based in San Diego, California, and they're sponsoring the Western Ultimate League. Shout out to Suju Juice, and you can learn more about them at sujujuice.com. The Western Ultimate League and all of our member teams are stepping forward to help women and non-binary players claim their space in pro sports. Every purchase of Claim Your Space gear helps spread the word and helps us achieve that mission. Shop the limited edition collection at westernultimateleague.com/shop. Thanks to Winter Cup sponsors and the host of our Winter Cup Saturday Night Social, New Motion Beverages and Embolden Beer Co. Learn about their craft artisan beverages at drinknewmotion.com.
And we're back as we get set to start the second quarter. The Seattle Tempest holding a slim 1-goal lead over the Utah Wild. Some statistical leaders after the first quarter. We saw Lexi Garrity from the Seattle Tempest with a couple of goals. Steph Lim with a couple of assists for Seattle.
Yeah, and then I don't think Gina Titcomb has gotten any more blocks, but man, she's gotten close.
She's gone close. And for the Wild, Keston involved again on the offensive end with some nice assists as well. Should be a fun one as we get ready to start the second quarter.
Yeah, we didn't see really any timeouts in that first quarter, so I will expect the coaches to get a little bit more involved as we get into the rest of this game.
Pull roll is well out of bounds. Come back in on the sideline here as Kelly Bruno will start with the disc for the Tempest. Up the line for Norris, floats it. Ricarte says, no thank you. Not quite in yet though. Looking at Titcomb, not quite there. Sue also not quite in yet. Seattle so close to that goal. Hammer from Sue. Oh.
Yeah, that's definitely a D.
Definitely a block from Alvey. Gets hit a bit, gonna walk off for an injury sub. But that was a nice heads-up play. We see a blue card being flashed, presumably for a bit of a dangerous play there coming in to
Disc is
a
live, players
defender's
live.
back. And it is Utah disc here.
Yeah, this could be a very big point for Utah.
Yeah, an opportunity to get a quick break here to start the second quarter. Moriyama with the disc now. Great save there. On the far sideline, puts it up immediately, looking for Wallen.
Yeah.
Eaten up by Ricarte, though, puts it to Mercer, and Seattle is back on their way. Titcomb now with the disc on the far sideline.
Yeah, Seattle moving the disc up the field, just eating up those yards.
Mercer getting wide open on that upline cut. Reception from Norris. Titcomb across, it's a run through block there from the Wild defender. Pushing, but they're going to reset. Olsen with the disc now, putting it just up the line. And finding Maruyama. Wallen cutting deep.
So deep, and that
Wide
10
open.
yards of extra field in the WL means that's not yet a score. They got to get it a little bit further, and they do.
They do. Great possession there at the end by the Wild, able to convert it. Olsen with the assist, but it was Wallen who got open in acres of space there. No one around her, easily able to reel in the huck. And the Wild convert. We're all tied up once again, 6-6. So here we go, the hammer from Sue. Alvey there. Titcomb just coming into her back, receiving a blue card for it. And here we see the run-through block by Maruyama. The shot to Wallen up the field. And just a few throws later, we see Olsen with the disc, popping it up the field for the Wild score. Tie game once again, and it's Sydney Bullock with the score.
The Wild is starting to find their feet on defense. They were letting Seattle march it up the field, and now they're really creating pressure on those handlers. And it's paying dividends because they got 2 blocks in that game, or in that point game.
Good game so far, tie game.
Oh, and almost another one, forcing a missed throw from Steph Lim.
Still low throw there. Custon looking to pick up. Will we see Custon try and shoot for the end zone right away? Miller's looking for it. Not quite there. Custon, stall count rising.
Oh.
And it's nicely intercepted by Kawhi there. Knocks it down. Seattle with the disc right back.
Yeah, that stall 7 definitely getting the better of Keston on that particular play.
Beautiful put by Alyssa Kelly. Intercepted by the Utah defender. Some great defensive heads-up play awareness there from both teams so far. Wide throw now. Floaty will just be kept in bounds by the Wild. Up the field to Staller. Staller putting it deep. The Huck starting to come out.
Ooh.
Bingham there to clean it up. Puts it wide. It's Maxfield. That's a score for Utah. That is another break. And
like,
they
that-
go up 7-6.
Exactly. I think that was also bookends for Maxfield. I think she got the D in the far end zone and then went and got the score.
Great play.
All over the field
All
she is.
over the field are the Utah Wild, and the Tempest decide they need a timeout, talk it over, settle the nerves down. Wild down 2 early, have made a comeback now, lead by 1. What do you think the adjustment has been for Utah to stage this second quarter comeback?
I think that Utah has just started playing much tighter person defense. You can see that Seattle doesn't have the freedom of movement that they did in the first quarter. They are really letting that stall count rise, and it's forcing missed throws from Seattle. And then on the other hand, immediately picking the disc up, and yeah, that is Maxfield there getting the bookends with the D and then the big score.
Nice follow-up there by Bingham to make sure that reception is made. Throws it out into space for Maxfield. Not a problem there Utah team getting some chemistry, also showing the importance from Bingham of following the disc. Even if you have another player there from your own team, you never know if you need to be the one to clean things up if the throw floats on your teammate.
Exactly. I think that Seattle is taking this timeout because in a game where you have less time in between points, less time in each quarter, less time, it means that any sort of emotional thing can get blown out of proportion really quickly. And games can get away from you very fast, which is what they saw last night. So I think they're taking this moment, right, instead of using their timeout strategically on the field, to mentally reset in order to get back into this game before it gets away from them.
And pulling out a different look here, a bit of a split stack. Sue had the disc in the center to Mercer, now on the sideline with Ricarte. Great cutting flow here. Up the line, but it's blocked by Chrissy Maruyama.
Yeah, Maruyama with 2 Ds so far in this game.
Defensive plays all over the field for both teams, seeing that defensive intensity ramp up. The Wild knowing that while they did have the first win under their belt, they would like another to really help cement their place in the standings in that top half of the table. Timeout called.
There we go. That's a strategic timeout because in these timeouts, the stall count will immediately reset to 0 and you can sub all 7 players on your field.
That one was called from the sideline from, looked like Bryce Merrill, one of the Utah Wild coaches. You can see players getting high fives as they rotate the line onto the field. Looks like the Tempest will be doing something similar as well. We'll see here the throw by Ricarte up the line. But then here is the block coming through from behind. Maruyama, great closing speed, great nice angle taken there to get the block on the disc, and now the Wild with yet another chance to score. Keston will start with the disc, it looks like, as soon as the disc gets tapped back in.
Yeah. Titcomb on the mark. The matchup between Titcomb and Keston has been really fun to watch.
Absolutely. Outstanding play on both sides of the disc. The gunslinger of the Wild against the defensive prowess of Titcomb. Skyball saved by Bingham.
What a brilliant heads-up play, and then a conservation of greatness by resetting the disc. Oh!
Almost a run through D. Players are amping it up. Miller with the disc on the near sideline. The Wild are so close. Keston unguarded, sends it over to Kircher. Across up the line to Stoller, and that's another Wild score. They have taken their own 2-point lead, up 8-6. Incredible, incredible follow-up plays by Corey Bingham, the Idaho product, showing out today.
That was just such a great heads-up play, and like you said earlier, Utah Wild doing a really good job of following the play with multiple players. So maybe that wasn't the player that it was intended to being thrown to, but certainly being caught by the team there on.
You can see the tip and the save there by Bingham, and then just smartly with the stall count, resetting. Keston across to Kircher. Great continue there to Stoller. Clean, clinical offensive execution there in the end after the save by Corey Bingham, coming up with big play after big play. Bingham, who normally plays with Boise Locksaw in the club mixed division, showing that she can do it all on the field in the Western Ultimate League.
Yeah, and that was definitely out of that timeout, right? Very advantageous timeout to be taken for Wild.
Smart play there by Merrill as Seattle looking to settle here, gets the disc back into play.
Yeah, a little bit of a junk zone look from Utah. Utah doing a really great job of mixing up their defenses and making Seattle make mistakes.
That looked very similar to the 2-3-2 that the Super Bloom pulled out yesterday. Pays off. Wild with the disc now, getting it back to the center. Maxfield with the disc up the line. Lozano. Ooh. Getting in the way. We'll see if there's a call, though. Seemed like great positioning there by Lozano, but might be a call that is getting discussed here.
Yeah, they're certainly going to talk it out.
Was a foul. So receiver will get a disc in hand, coming in at 1.
Lozano not quite able.
Second pre-stall.
Lozano not quite able to make the play cleanly there. Disc will stay with Utah. Williams with the disc as the pre-stall gets counted in. Up the line to Olsen.
Oh, just tipped. Seattle's so close there.
Spalding
Flying in
almost
the
at the
air.
block. Maxfield getting up, sending it across the field.
Oh,
And able to get the score. That's Genesee Mayha for the Wild. They are putting together a great run here. Now up 9-6. The Tempest maybe getting a little bit rocked here, unable to fully recover. The Wild implementing that zone there in order to force the turnover. There's Lozano. You can see the contact in the follow-through of that block. Maxfield going up high, high-pointing the disc, and then putting that blade around.
just to the far side. Really, really smart play from Utah. Utah is also doing a really great job of once they get the turn, immediately attacking offensively the other way. And Seattle doesn't seem to have an answer for that yet.
Mayha, a standout player for the Wild yesterday, getting on the score sheet again this morning. Wild now with a pretty commanding 3-point lead. We still have plenty of time. These points are coming thick and fast. And we'll see if Seattle can make a comeback in the last 4 minutes or so of the second quarter ahead of halftime. Sue receiving the disc, centering to Titcomb.
Yeah, this is a very high-scoring game so far. We've seen a lot of points played in not very much time.
Something where a lot of these players are used to playing to a point cap of 15 in standard USA Ultimate rules. We'll see how the legs hold up as we get into the later quarters and the points tick up. Floated throw here. Norris able to get under it. Throws crossfield. Kircher with the great block there. That's a tough crossfield throw. Kircher reading it all the way, getting the block and going to pick up the disc on the far corner of the end zone.
Yeah, really, really anticipating that well.
Floated throw around to Keston. Keston pointing, wanting to shoot. Does. Great throw by Keston. Will it find its intended receiver?
Oh, and Jenny Norris with the D. Sue up in the mix as well. Seattle looking to get back in this game.
Yeah, and that seemed to bounce off two Wild receiver hands before eventually getting knocked down by the Tempest. Still have a ways to go here for Seattle as they try to work it up the field against the tight pressure defense of the Wild. Sue shooting and
really
coming back to
read.
it. Ricarte, nice read, nice coming back to it there. Garrity within the center of the field looking for a reset. Titcomb now, center of the field, 15 yards out. Timeout taken by Seattle. So if you're Seattle here, timeout taken, last one of the half, just over 2 minutes left. If you're Rory Titcomb, you're on the sideline, you're thinking we really need this score, bring us within 2, and then if you can get just one break in the next couple minutes, it'll really help bring your team back here. Keston shooting there, great throw there, just floated a bit too much off two Wild players' hands before Norris knocks it down for good. Sue back the other way. Ricarte, great awareness there
Really
to come
great
back
read.
towards the disc. And we're about to get back underway here. Again, with the timeouts, teams can sub. Not the same, a different player can pick up the disc. And we see that here. Titcomb had it initially.
Yeah.
Looks like Shearer Stern will start with it. Bingham on the mark. Back to Lim. Lim and Stern trying to work it together. Lim on the near sideline towards the center. Seattle moving it quickly. They do have time to use, so no need to rush. Stern there with a great save. Songer with the disc.
Oh, and just a little bit of a miscue.
Bingham almost goes to pick up before settling, and Maxfield comes back to get the disc moving. Miller now with the disc.
Yeah, moving the disc up the field. Utah looking so confident with it in this stall 7, just really using the space of the field.
Miller showing where she wanted the pass to be thrown in front of her, goes and gets it. Maxfield resetting back to Miller now. On the near sideline, a little touchy throw, Wallen with it, about half field. Maruyama wide open. Miller's getting these floaty up line throws, and it's Bingham again for the Wild. That was quite a point.
Yes.
Miller crouched down on the sideline, tired, but doing some really great work in the handler set. And Corey Bingham, we have said her name a lot, she gets the score once again for the Wild.
Yeah.
They now have a 4-point lead, 10-6.
Yes, I don't think that we expected this much of a lead in this game. I'm very excited to see this level of Ultimate being played. I mean, it's just great Ultimate out here today.
Fantastic Ultimate, fantastic plays all around. Beautiful touchy throw from Miller up the line to Bingham. 3 goals and assists already for the player out of Boise. Maybe taking a breather knowing that halftime is approaching, and maybe she'll take a breather and not quite get back on the field until after the half. As we get set to pull here, already hitting 10 points for the Wild. 16 points already scored. We still got another minute left here. Yesterday, the highest scoring game was the 14-13 game between the Tempest and the Super Bloom for a total of 27. We're already at 16, and we're not even to halftime yet. So
yeah,
some high-scoring Ultimate, some fun Ultimate to be watching on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always in favor of more points instead of less points. Watching goals is exciting.
This is something about the pro game different than the club scene. Not to a point total. Great juggling grab there by Roscoe. Seattle trying to maintain possession here for a final score ahead of halftime. Great diving grab from Spalding. If Seattle can just maintain possession here, they can push it past the zeros on the clock. Lozano on the sideline. They have time, floating it anyway up the line
really
to
good score.
Nina Jonic for the score. Zeros on the scoreboard. Official seeming to signal that that is indeed halftime. Seattle able to maintain possession, get the score to send us into halftime. They're down 3, 10-7 to the Utah Wild. Lozano on the sideline, looking, deciding that a little floaty throw up the line will make it easy enough for Jonic to go and get. Seattle down 3, not quite the scores that we thought we'd have necessarily at halftime so far, but the Tempest regrouping now ahead of halftime to have a little chat before the break. They are down. What do they need to do in the second half to get back into this one?
Well, they need to, I think, on defense, really up their defensive intensity and stop those big throws coming from Utah. They need to break up Utah's offense a little bit. And on offense, they need to connect with their teammates more. They're letting that stall 7 really rattle them and are just miscuing with each other. I think that Seattle absolutely has it in them to come back in this game. The question is, will they?
Absolutely. See Seattle huddling up now, having a chat, down as they were yesterday for points in that game, down more points than they were ever against the Super Bloom. That 14-13 thriller in the nightcap, but no team ever led by more than 1. Seattle currently having a 3-goal deficit to make up. We're actually going to send you down to the sideline with our sideline reporter Jeremy Ziskin with Utah standout Megan Maxfield. Jeremy, down to you.
Thank you, Jenna. I'm here with Utah Wild standout Megan Maxfield. Megan, you are filling up the stat sheet so far with 2 goals, assist, and a D. Utah's D, in particular, you're playing very aggressive and looking to push it on the turn. Is that something that you're trying to train in practice?
We are trying to facilitate them to move the disc a lot. The chances are that the more they move the disc, the more chances there are for a turnover or a D opportunity, especially on such a wider field.
So what's it been like with sort of limited ramp up to the Winter Cup, and you're hailing from all over the Mountain West? Has this been really the first time that you've all kind of been together and are playing?
Actually, yesterday was our first day together. Actually, we met a lot of the people that we hadn't even met before. I ran into somebody in Utah that was like, I met your teammate. I was like, that's cool, I haven't yet. And the fact is that we have very surprisingly come together very quickly, and we have a lot of the same play style coming from the Big Sky region, and I think we're using that to our benefit, as well as our athleticism. You
had mentioned a little bit about high altitude training. Do you think that coming from mountainous region plays to your advantage conditioning-wise?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no better place to live than in the mountains. And on top of that, we have been utilizing our pod workouts, and you can see it. Like, we have all been putting in the effort on our separate locations, though we can't meet together, and I think that is our saving grace right now.
All right, thanks, Megan. We're going to throw it to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Seattle Tempest player Steph Lim.
We believe that women and non-binary athletes deserve to be seen and our abilities showcased for the world to see.
We believe in perpetuating Ultimate by establishing professional teams and developing future generations of players.
We believe players of all identities and backgrounds deserve an equal opportunity to be recognized and lauded for our achievements in our sport.
We believe
in sustainably and responsibly creating equitable and accessible avenues for women and non-binary athletes to join and participate in our sport.
We believe that being transparent,
open,
and responsive to criticism is critical,
and that there should always be space
to fix our mistakes, grow,
and be better.
We are the Western Ultimate League.
Seattle Tempest player Steph Lim. Steph, you went up early in the game, have a little bit of a deficit at halftime. What do you think the team needs to do to try to make it close in the second half?
Yeah, you know, our team does really well when we cut decisively. I think we've designed this offense to isolate people in space, and I think, like you saw, we were able to do that. And I think just at the end zone, we need to just hold on to the disc a little bit longer, look for those open looks, set our feet a little bit more, and I think we got it.
You know, Seattle Ultimate is kind of known for small ball, quick handler movement, and we're seeing a lot of that with you so far on the offense. Is that something you're really trying to drill, quick handler movement, and do you play any sort of small-sided games in Seattle to try to practice that?
Oh yeah, Seattle loves 2v2 mini. It's like a tiny, tiny field. But also in this game, I think we are working, handlers, being squirrely in the middle, gaining momentum, and then looking for those big yard gainers. I really love our offense because we're able to isolate people, and then we use our handlers to move the disc to get defenders out of the way to make those throws open and easy.
There's so much talent in the Seattle area. It's spread across a number of amazing teams. What's it been like to come together with playing with some players that you normally wouldn't play with?
I love it. It's the best. It's so fun. It's awesome to play with the other people in the women's division and mixed division. I think sometimes we stay within our club teams, and I think in a scene like this, I just love making new connections, playing with new teammates, figuring out their styles, and I think it's such a great place to do that and have such a diversity of players.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Steph. We're going to throw it to another quick commercial break, and we'll be back for the start of the second half.
WL is giving women and non-binary folks space. And I think, like watching the power behind the WNBA last year, the political changes they were able to make happen, what the women's soccer team has been able to do. I love that pro sports are encouraging female matching players to take space. We're worth watching. We can compete at a high level. We push each other.
Personally, I grow a lot from learning from other people, learning different play styles, and this Cascades was a really awesome opportunity to play with a whole range of different people and skill sets.
Oh, this is so amazing. I get to play at this high level with all these other amazing like women and non-binary folk, and I'm just like so excited to be in that space.
I'm just so excited to see what pro ultimate for women can look like 5 years from now.
And welcome back to San Diego. We are just about coming out of halftime in the game of the Utah Wild versus the Seattle Tempest. Both teams with fantastic jerseys. If you want one of your own, one of those beautiful Tempest blue and greens, go to seattletempest.com. Go and pick up a jersey of your own, a disc of your own. Great logo, great team, great colors all around. If you want to support the team out of the Northwest, go and check it out at their website again, seattletempest.com. As for the Wild, those beautiful sunset, canyon country, rock-colored jerseys. Very clean whites there as well. If you want your own, go to utahwildultimate.org/shop and pick up your own. Some really nice jerseys all around, some great merch all around. If you want your merch as well to support the league overall, you can go to westernultimateleague.com. Go to the shop tab, go pick up some merch for the Western Ultimate League as well. And then you can go to the individual team shops, pick up some of those jerseys, support the teams, the Wild, getting ready to get back out on the field. They do have that 3-point lead at 10-7. Katie Killebrew, tell me about what the second half has in store for us for these two teams.
Well, I mean, we've seen a ramping up in the first half, right? We started off a little sedate. We were having some easy scores, and then Utah Wild really turned on their defensive intensity, getting scores and rattling Seattle, which had taken a slight lead at the beginning, into making some mistakes, and Utah capitalized on it. I think in this second half, I'm really looking forward to, like Steph Lim was saying at halftime, to seeing these teams have more fun. And these teams, I think, having fun for them is running really hard and playing intense defense and trying to have some very quick scores. I think it's going to lead to a more intense half than we saw in the first.
Absolutely. See some of the Seattle players and coaches chatting on the sideline, trying to figure out what adjustments they might be able to make in the second half. It'll be looks like their defensive line to start initially out on the field. Yeah, maybe an opportunity to get a quick break here to start the second half if their defensive line can convert.
Yeah, I think in a team where you're behind, I think starting on defense is always a good place because you have a chance to really just run, right? Try to get back on your feet, back into that rhythm of defense. You can see Coach Rory Titcomb assigning matchups across the field and really giving her players her energy. If you've ever seen Rory on a sideline or been a teammate with her, she is all energy, and I think that that's exactly what this Seattle team needs right now.
And it's her sister, China, with the fantastic pull. Keston initially with it. Disc now centered and up the line, shooting quickly already. It's Kircher deep, getting the space on Sue of Seattle. Kircher, stall count rising, needing a reset. Keston with the sliding grab on the near sideline, trying to direct traffic here. Able to get it just up the line to McCready. Stall count again, rising. It's a short stall count there. Floated throw.
Oh,
Stoller once again able to come down with it. 40-year-old continues to put up points for Utah once again. The disc just hanging in the air there. Maybe a touch of a breeze holding the disc up above the Seattle defender there.
This one just floats over the defender's hands. I'm sure they both wish they had read that a little bit better than Stoller did.
Yeah, tough little throw there up the sideline. McCready able to just put enough float on it. Stoller, 3 goals and an assist already for the long-time veteran out of the Mountain West. She's been putting on a really good show, showing that young or old, you can make an impact in the Western Ultimate League. Stoller absolutely doing that for the Wild. They've reestablished their 4-point lead back on defense once again. We'll see if the Seattle offense can settle in a bit, get some easy points for them. Roller pull goes out of bounds, about the 35-yard line, 25 yards or so up from the end zone. Starting on the sideline, going straight up the line for Seattle. Center to Lim. Lim up the line inside to Schlesinger, back to the center to Lim.
Yeah, the Seattle handlers seem to move it well amongst themselves, but they're not really connecting with their cutters upfield very well. And so they're just stuck in this middle zone of the field, really trying to break through that Utah defense. Oh, and as they do, it's a miscue and a almost catch, but not quite.
Not quite grab there. Schlesinger, the intended target. Utah having to force one up, and it's an immediate turnover once again.
Yes.
Songer on the block there, picks it up, trying to get the disc moving. For Seattle, player going deep, but Lim says not quite yet.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, we can't really tell up here in the booth yet, but it seems, based on how these throws are floating in the air a little bit, there might be a slight breeze that has picked up down on the field, really affecting their throws in the first points of this second half.
Seems like it's a bit of a crosswind going from the far sideline towards the near. But Seattle able to work it all right now. Stern with the disc in the center, going back to Lim, and then back across to the two of them, Stern and Lim, going back and forth.
There we go.
And it is indeed Shira Stern with the goal, the long-time Seattle Riot player in the club women's division, getting the score for the Tempest.
Yeah, well, Steph Lim did say that in Seattle they like playing that 2-on-2 in a box offense, and that was really paying off for them right there, because that was just the Shira Stern and Steph Lim show, running back and forth that give-and-go offense.
See the throws floating just a bit on players here in the win. Nice box out there by Songer. And then here we go. Stern to Lim, back to Shira Stern for the score. Seattle still needs breaks, though. That was a clean offensive point after that initial turn. So now their defensive line needs to come out. With the wind picking up a little bit here, we'll see if they mix up the defensive look at all to put some pressure on. Steph Lim racking up the goals yesterday, racking up the assists today, 3 already today.
Yeah, it looks like Titcomb is about to pull. Her pulls have been really great today, really lots of, depth on those pulls. I wonder if that will help Seattle Tempest in the stats category as we go through this game.
Not if it's offsides, though. Little weather graphics, 59 degrees with a touch of a breeze, currently out of the north, 4 miles an hour. Arguably a thrower's wind, as Seattle does indeed take advantage of the wind and tries to throw a zone here. Keston able to wiggle out of it, though, to start, and gets the disc back, but not making a lot of headway so far for the Wild.
Yeah, and in a zone, you're trying to get those handlers to hold the disc, and in stall 7, it's even more imperative that the Wild keeps moving it. Big throw.
Keston just shooting instead. Out to Stoller. Stoller, easy enough to Bingham. And it's a lot of the same names that we've been hearing from the Wild.
Yeah.
Still building that chemistry, but Stoller and Bingham and Keston and others really being standouts for the Wild.
Yeah.
Short field, Keston able to take advantage of it there.
I think Keston heard me saying that they shouldn't hold the disc anymore and decided to shoot one deep. Stoller and the other player on the other side really splitting that deep and creating spaces to throw into. I think that's an underrated part of what the Wild is doing, is that they are creating a lot of space for throwers to throw into.
Absolutely, and Bingham there, 4 goals and an assist so far today. again, for those of you keeping track at home, there is a fantasy contest going on. The home team of the winning fantasy player will get 10 points to their weekend total. If you have Corey Bingham racking up the goals in your side bet for 5+ goals on the weekend, probably feeling pretty good about yourself when it comes to the fantasy game and to earn points for your team. So
There we go.
looks like we have another.
It was either an offsides or a delay of game. It looks like the
delay of game called by the observer. This will actually give the Wild the disc very close to the.
I think they were going
end
to pull,
zone.
so I think Seattle has to start in their own end zone, right? Seattle would be on offense.
Defense will get their 20.
This is the first time we've seen this happen in a game in the WUL so far, where a team has gotten a delay of game penalty and had to start in their own end zone. Sometimes with new rules we have a little bit of confusion, but they seem to have figured it out.
No pre-stall called. Sue just having to start with the disc in the middle of the end zone here. Seattle being forced into some tough positions, giving Utah the advantage initially with some miscues. Delay of game, offsides called, just making life harder on themselves. Down the 4, you don't want to see that happen as Tempest try and just move the disc, able to get an outlet there to the far sideline before swinging it back to the center to Lim, trying to direct traffic for Seattle. Nice outlet, Lozano open there on the far sideline, able to get it up the line as well. Some good pressure by Utah. Bit of a collision, just has to put it up. It will hang for Lozano. No call. Lozano doing a really great job there, finding the pockets of space, establishing herself as an open reset opportunity, and that time a deep outlet as well.
Yeah, I think that was almost a stall on Charlie Mercer, which is why that disc went up. She was looking for her dump. That stall 7 almost getting Seattle, but really they marched it over 100 yards down the field for that score, starting in their own end zone.
Did a pretty impressive offensive display. We saw there the dump reset for Mercer, just getting a little bit tripped up with her defender. Mercer having to just put it deep, and Lozano heads up play, the veteran player, typically plays in the club mixed division for Seattle Mixtape, showing that awareness and understanding of field positioning to get in a position where she can be an outlet for Mercer to throw to.
Exactly. So this will really be a test again for Seattle's D-line. They need a break in this part of the game, and we have seen very few falters from Utah Wild's O-line, which is now on the field.
Person defense from the Tempest. Keston once again in the backfield for the Wild, working with Kyla Crisp. And there goes Dickham once again with the block. That is just another layout block
that was
for Titcomb.
Beautiful. Such a clean lane, such poise. Keston was not ready for Chyna to unleash like that.
And now Seattle with a real opportunity here. Just need to convert on it.
Oh.
And it's a drop. No call.
No, that's
not able to convert.
unfortunate.
Keston picking up, looking to move the disc right away if possible. Miller and Keston.
Travel
called.
I really love the hand signals. I mean, I love them as a coach and a player, but really as a commentator from the sideline, it makes it much clearer what's happening on the field.
Hand signals helpful for everyone involved.
Yes. There
Able
we
to
go.
communicate non-verbally. Utah again looking pretty clean in their offensive set. That was Kircher on the sideline, centering to Keston and across the field now towards the near hash. Miller up the field to Bingham. But it's a drop from Kircher. Tried to go with one hand, not able to reel it in. Seattle, one more opportunity for their defensive line. Titcomb jogging over to pick up. Timeout called from the sideline.
Yeah, this is a big call. It's interesting, right? We talked about the timeouts being able to sub your entire line. Do you put your O-line on here to try to score?
I think if you're Seattle, you do. You know that you need breaks down 3, 12-9 right now. trying to make sure that you have the right players on the field. Rory Titcomb calling the timeout as her sister China went over to pick up the disc, and indeed we see pretty much a full line sub for Seattle.
Yeah.
And Mercer looks to be the one to start with the disc. The Wild still figuring out who they're going to end up with on the field, and also waiting for Seattle to set up in their offensive set. We're going to get one more look at the incredible China Titcomb layout block, getting in front of Keston.
Clean.
Such a fun matchup. China getting the better of Keston there. Titcomb's coming up big for
It does
Seattle.
not look like the Utah Wild have taken any subs. This looks like their O-line currently playing defense.
Indeed, Kircher on the mark against Mercer. Those two have seen a lot of each other in the Washington Ultimate scenes. Tempest, again, trying to take advantage, putting an offensive line on the field. Inside throw,
Really
nice to Mercer
pretty.
there. Sue right up the line. Seattle trying to move quickly. Inside throw.
Oh, just falling down. I was going to say that Seattle was looking so clean and aggressive, marching the disc right down the field. And then that, I don't know, grass shark, turf shark, getting at the ankles of players and knocking them to the ground, really without any contact.
Mercer unable to get to the inside throw from Sue. The Wild with 80 yards to go once again. The players playing a lot for this key group here. Wallen managing to get open on the near sideline.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about Kircher today, but I think she's really an under talked about player. All over the field, both handling and cutting, throwing really smooth, crisp passes for her teammates, creating space. Unfortunately, that's just a turnover in traffic. But I'd like to see Kircher really come alive in this game because she's a great player.
A couple of overthrows each way. And you can see Kircher walking towards the disc, putting hands towards the ground, trying to settle the Wild offense there, at least for the time being. Although shooting deep now, trying to find it, not quite able to come back to this. Foul called though. Looks like it's Wallen calling it on Roscoe there. See what the observer has to say about it.
Okay, are we gonna?
Yeah, I will.
Retracting call. Yep. Call retracted. It'll be a ground check and then we're live. Okay. Utah, your ground check.
All right, so a turnover there. Kircher trying to find Wallen deep, unable to. No foul call. Roscoe picking up the disc for Seattle. And an immediate turn, though. Keston with the disc, just waiting for the offense to get set up about 25 yards outside the end zone. This is turning into a longer point. We're just under 2 minutes left in the quarter. Kircher, disc on the far sideline.
There we go. Now Keston has it. This is one of those make or break points that happens in a game, right? We talked about it at the beginning of this point, which was before the timeout happened. Wow, Keston really coming down with it and such poise to punch that disc in.
Keston, great follow there on that grab, getting it to Kyla Crisp in the end zone. Utah not giving up those points, restoring their 4-point lead. 13-9. I would say the tempo of the points has slowed down, but not the tempo of the play. There have been great plays all around. Roscoe just not finding a receiver there in the middle. Keston just waiting for things to be set, trying to direct traffic. Miller there trying to get a reset. Stalkon was probably rising. Keston just able to establish position, grab the disc, and then dish it to Kyla Crisp. So time running down in the third quarter, just over a minute to go. Looking at 13-9, as we've been saying, Seattle really needing breaks. Had a few opportunities at that point, not able to put it in, as we see another roller pull from the Wild as Titcomb gets the centering pass.
Oh, stall count rising. That stall 7 comes up really fast. Although I don't think we've seen many actual stalls called in this game.
Not as many in this game. Maybe the experience of yesterday gave these players a little bit more practice in feeling the pace and timing of it, but time holding onto the disc there, but took home now, moves around and bursts up line, gets the disc, shoots it deep, nice bladed throw. Perfect to Garrity. Garrity on the board once again in the end zone. Titcomb providing the assist this time. Again, another hold for Seattle. They're managing to make their offensive line work. It's about if their defense can convert. Only about 30 seconds left in the quarter. If their defense wants to get some push before the quarter.
Yeah, Seattle just really flowing up in the disc. Garrity does a great job of positioning herself in the middle of the field with lots of space, both deep and wide of her, in order to get that space. There's 3 defenders by her, and yet she's the only person who can get that disc.
Able to just get behind the back of her defender and then get the disc deep. Now it's going to be up to the Seattle defensive line to see what they can do. Garrity, 2 goals and an assist on the day already. Being very productive, especially in that downfield space. As you said, making the timing of those cuts really come together and then having that burst of speed to go get the disc at the end.
Tempest coming down on defense. It looks like they're more in a person defense here, and they don't seem to be able to really stop that flow.
Oh.
It looks like there's a call or a discussion happening, but they haven't really been able to stop that immediate flow of the Wild's offense yet.
Not yet. It was a nice inside throw there by Keston to Chris, but Chris throw too low. All right, now, so clock ticking down. Seattle, if they can maintain possession.
Injury call? Yes.
Injury call on the field. Making a substitution. Seattle should be able to be maintaining possession through the end of this quarter until either they score or they turn the disc over, as the turnover did happen before the clock hit zeros.
When you're ready, players.
So
yeah, this will be important for Seattle, because if they can get this game within 2, it makes that 4th quarter so much more attainable, especially because as this clock is starting to hit 0, Utah won't have a chance to rebuttal in this point. It will be just Seattle. Oh, and a big throw from Steph Lim. Oh, just wide.
Just over the head of Hawaii. Unable to come up with it. The clock has hit zeros. That
is the
will
end.
mark the end of the 3rd quarter. Players just confirming that that is the case. And so we'll head to the 4th quarter. Utah leading 13-10. We see Seattle possession here, trying to make the most of it. The put up by Lim, just out of reach of Kawhi. We'll be back in just a sec, and just a bit for the 4th quarter.
Alti Photos is the official photographer of Winter Cup. Visit them at altiphotos.com. The Western Ultimate League is sponsored by Breakmark Apparel. They make our players and our fans look great on or off the ultimate field. Shop the full line of Western Ultimate League team gear at breakmark.com. Suja Juice is an organic, non-GMO cold-pressed juice company based in San Diego, California, and they're sponsoring the Western Ultimate League. Shout out to Suja Juice, and you can learn more about them at sujajuice.com. The Western Ultimate League and all of our member teams are stepping forward to help women and non-binary players claim their space in pro sports. Every purchase of Claim Your Space gear helps spread the word and helps us achieve that mission. Shop the limited edition collection at westernultimateleague.com/shop. Thanks to Winter Cup sponsors and the hosts of our Winter Cup Saturday Night Social, New Motion Beverages and Embolden Beer Co. Learn about their craft artisan beverages at drinknewmotion.com.
And welcome back for the 4th and final quarter of this game between the Utah Wild and the Seattle Tempest. The Wild holding a 13-10 lead as we enter the final minutes of this game, the final quarter for both of these teams. We'd hope that both of them, with no more games to play on the weekend, leave it all out on the field. The Tempest needing to make a comeback here. The Wild just looking to hold Seattle off.
Yeah, 10 minutes just to make an impact. We saw during the quarter break that Wild had their line out on the field talking, and Seattle really used every minute of that quarter break to talk as a whole team. I can only imagine what coaches were talking to the other players. I hope we have a lot of hype going into this last quarter, because I certainly am hyped to see some good Frisbee.
Seattle with an opportunity here. That's going to be an offside call, though, which will give the Tempest the disc at half field here. Players maybe still getting used to from both teams the offside rules and how they're being called. This will start in the middle with Kat Songer for the Tempest. They're on offense. Helpful to start on offense to start the fourth quarter. If they can get a score here, they'll be able to bring it within 2. We can have a fun finish on our hands as they work it up the far sideline. Centering back to Sue, and all the way across the field to Stern. Some textbook offense there at the moment. Up the line!
No, just a miscue, moving a little bit too fast, Sue, and then they have to immediately get back on defense because Wild has not. Ooh! That could have been dangerous, but a good D by Seattle.
Clean block there.
Sue with the disc.
Songer, who plays a little give and go with Sue. Sue trying to conduct the offense pretty quickly here for Seattle. Able to get that low throw around. Able to come up with it. Stern now with the disc. Seattle not too far out, but being pushed back by this tenacious Wild defense.
Yeah, Sue really lasering throws low to her teammates. Charlie Mercer getting on the ground twice in that point to really retain possession. I love watching these handlers move together. It's so smooth. Wild's defense is doing a really good job of stopping that handler connection to the cutters, right? They're moving the disc, but they aren't really able to get enough upfield past that 5-yard outside the end zone mark.
Well, doing a really good job of pushing Seattle back. Mercer with it now on the near sideline, centering to Songer. Seattle looking a bit static here as they move it within their handlers. And that's a throw behind the receiver. Couldn't quite get it with the sliding grab. The Wild now with 80 to go. Once again, this would make a break for them.
Yeah, Megan Maxfield at halftime said that Wild was trying to get Seattle to throw a lot of throws. And that's exactly what that line did, right? We saw Seattle be smooth and assured for the first several throws. Ooh, big one going up. Big D by Charlie Mercer.
Mercer getting under that one. Olsen just trying to shoot a little bit there. Just too much float on that disc. Mercer really able to establish position. Thinks about the hug, doesn't go for it. Seattle mostly content to move it within their handlers, but not quite connecting with their cutters. A couple players in the same position now on the far sideline. A nice around throw there, centering it to Songer in the middle of the field, and it's Garrity coming under for it. Floated and blocked by the Wild on the far sideline. If you're Seattle, this is not what you wanted to see, a long point to start the fourth quarter.
No, they need all the time that they can get to try to come back in this game.
Their offensive line just not able to do it at the moment.
To Megan Maxfield, really good space awareness there.
Oh, a hand block. That's Garrity with that one against Maxfield, and Songer takes a timeout wisely, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Seattle really needing this point. This is an offensive point to pull them within 2. It's been a long one, over 3 minutes, nearly 3.5 minutes worth of play time on this one. Seattle opting to take this timeout. If I'm correct, this may be their final timeout of the half, so they won't have any more to burn after this.
I mean, you have to use them smartly. I don't think that's a word. I can say words well. But they have to be smart with their timeouts, right? In this time pressure of a situation in the WUL, they're doing a good job. I would be interested to see, actually, if somebody wanted to do a statistical analysis of this game afterwards, how many total throws and passes Seattle has actually completed, because my guess is that they have completed more passes than Utah has, and yet Utah is winning because they have been able to make more total connections and make fewer turnovers in this point.
Ooh, we have a collision here. Alyssa Kelly coming under for the disc, it looked like, and then getting taken out. It might be Maxfield there, trying to make the bid. Kelly limping off.
Yeah, that was a little bit late on that D attempt and just got tangled up in her legs afterwards.
Looks like there may have been a card issue to Maxfield, just coming in from behind the player. You hate to see that. Never want to have players come in from behind the player's legs. That's a real injury risk there. Glad to see that folks look mostly to be okay. Seattle will retain the disc. Spalding now with the disc in the handler set, getting it across to Titcomb. Low
Really
to the near
good
sideline
swing.
to Kawhi. But a block there. Oh, and a little bit of a collision there. That's Maruyama with the interception and the disc in hand as play resumes. McCready now up the line. It's low, but Stoller dips to get it and puts it up. That's another floaty one. We'll see who comes down with it. And it's just out of reach. That was Wallen diving for it. Spalding, I think, with the last touch to just put it out of reach there. Spalding picking up for the Tempest. They have 80 yards to go. We are over halfway through the fourth quarter. This has been the same point.
Yeah, Seattle really wants this one.
Low throw to Titcomb, but she digs it
Titcomb
out.
holstering that.
Ricarte coming back. Nice grab there near sideline and centers to Spalding.
Yeah, sometimes when you get in these big points, that desire to just put one big throw to get your team to score is there. And Sheena, not holstering that one. Big throw, and it's turned over. Sometimes that happens in those points. You really need to retain possession, but it's so tempting when you have receivers deep like that.
Titcomb just about at half field, trying to find Ricarte, not able to. Wallen in good position there. Had the almost layout grab on the other end this time, getting the block in the opposite end zone. Miller picking up, trying to swing it, able to all the way across field to the far sideline. Timeout called for the Wild.
Yeah, that's
2 timeouts at this point already, just under 4 minutes left. Utah maintaining that lead. Again, this is the same point that we started with over 6 minutes ago.
It doesn't feel like the same point, especially with 2 timeouts, line changes, all sorts of possession changes. We've been at both ends of the end zone. Each team has almost scored. This is definitely one of those this will be the make or break turn. It's such a good looking huck, and yet it just isn't for the receiver. There's a defender in great position to get that one.
Yeah, Wallen taking away the angle entirely from Ricarte. Ricarte not really even pursuing that, maybe knowing initially that Wallen simply had better position and was going to get it the entire time. Titcomb just trying to make the play.
Right,
Wild setting out.
Up.
So, yeah, Keston picking up, and the Wild setting up in a vertical stack initially to start. It's like Miller back,
it looks
or
like
Alvey back with
new lines
Keston.
for each side. I think we have 14 new players on this field right now.
Wallen may still be out there. Looks like she just had the under grab and clearing out from the space. It is a floated throw. That's Stoller.
Really great hands to catch that.
Back to McCready, across to Keston. I don't know if the Wild made very many substitutions. This looks like very much a similar line. Miller now with the disc, trying to find a reset pick called up the field. It may stay with Keston, or it may just go back to Miller as the Wild sort out their offensive stack. You can see Keston signaling for the stack 2 get more organized in the center of the field. Keston pointing, shooting, angled pass. That's a goal.
Wow.
Able to get it, and guess who it is? It is Stoller once again coming up with the goal. Keston shooting once again. Again, those names time and again for the Wild.
Yeah.
Coming up big. It's a 4-point lead now, 14-10. Utah has it over Seattle. Just over 3 minutes to go. Seems like it's going to be tough for Seattle to make the comeback they need right now, especially with the Wild offense not giving up those break opportunities.
No.
Beautiful around bladed flick. Stoller just getting it over the diving defense.
Does such a great job of creating space in that deep space, maybe making her defender forget that she's there, and then really exploiting that break side. I would love to see more angles where you can see the deep cutters, because she has in this game put on a masterclass of finding that deep space.
Stoller with 4 goals, 2 assists. Maybe that's something we can put on the Western Ultimate League's wish list for 2022. More cameras, more angles to see all of the fantastic play that their players are showing. It seems like it's another call.
Yeah,
so
another offsides
Another offsides call. So
Seattle looks like they'll pick up the disc in the middle of the field. I don't know. At this point, Seattle looks like they can use every yard that the Wild is willing to give them. Big gainer to Titcomb on that first one. Utah's defensive intensity has not wavered for one moment in this game. Every player on that field is really hustling and making Seattle's life difficult. They're giving them those horizontal angles, but once they try to punch it upfield, there just are so few options.
nice inside throw by Titcomb. Mercer just on the goal line there. Resets back to Titcomb. Swings wide to Spalding. Looks for the continue. Not there. Back to Titcomb. Miscommunication. And it's the Wild with another opportunity. You think this would be a dagger if they are able to hit 15 here. 5-point lead. Just over 2 minutes to go. If they can convert this one. Bingham thought about it.
She
Instead,
did.
Resets back, and the Wild are moving it pretty cleanly.
There we go. Oh, stall count rising. Wild keeps, that was a miscue on that one. She wishes you could have that one back in her hand.
Seattle not with a ton of time here. Spalding with the disc now. You think they'd have to move it pretty quickly here in order to get back into this one.
Yeah, they just don't have that connection into the middle of the field. There's a lack of cutters there, making Titcomb's life very difficult.
We can see, though, maybe some players slowing down a little bit, especially for the Wild. A lot of these players have been playing a lot of points and a lot of long points. And the throw from Titcomb.
No one really cutting there.
Seeing maybe from Seattle, the handler movement is working well, but the cutters maybe just a bit too deep sometimes to be able to connect with those Tempest handlers. And once again, the Wild have possession, just over a minute to go.
Yeah, they have really done a great job of clock management in this game. They're not wasting time. They get that disc moving again.
Travel called. Looks like Titcomb chatting with 28, Jess Olsen.
Coming in here, coming in 1.
Coming in on 1, Olsen with the disc. We're in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Clock will stop on any calls, but still under a minute left. Utah up by 4.
Ooh, what a grab by Olsen. Keeping possession alive. And again, that's going to be, a timeout called. Coach coming in to save that possession for sure.
And something where if you have a timeout to burn, just under a minute left to go, might as well use it. You won't be able to use it any other time. And for Utah at this point, it's probably about, as you said, clock management, running out the clock. They do have this 4-point lead. You can see the fantastic grab by Olsen to save what would have otherwise been a great hand block there.
Yeah.
Merrill talking to his players about what they want to do. But again, you see a lot of the same names and numbers out there for Utah. Keston now walking over to the disc.
Yeah,
you wonder maybe if there's a shoot right away mentality with Keston on the disc, or if they'll try to move it towards the center of the field. Again, not very much time left now. Seattle needs 4 points. It seems all but out of reach for the Tempest. Reset is low from Keston. Titcomb going to pick up the disc. Looks for reset. Songer is there. Back across to Titcomb towards this near sideline. Back towards the far sideline. Songer and Titcomb just playing it back and forth, but eating up time on the clock at this point. Titcomb with the disc. Hit called down the field. Likely won't affect the play whatsoever. Titcomb will likely keep the disc. Just as time just about ticks down, the clock will have stopped on this call, so Seattle will maintain possession here, but just seconds remaining now in the game.
Yes.
And at this point, it's simply a matter of possession here. Lozano up the line to Kawhi for the Seattle score. See the observer seemingly signaling for the
end of the game.
End of the game, and that is another win for the Utah Wild. They take this on 14-11 over the Seattle Tempest.
What a great game. Also, that 3-point differential will make a big difference as we go into the stats category, right? For each team, they will get more points for that than they will for their 1-point win last night.
And you can see there to come to Lozano up the line to Kawhi to close the margin just a bit. The Wild moved to 2-0 on the weekend, the first team to reach 2-0. You think for them this will have been a very, very successful weekend all around, building that chemistry for their team, looking ahead to 2022. 2 wins under your belt. The team seemed to have worked really well with the new rule set. I feel like the Wild should be really encouraged going into 2022.
Yeah.
Tempest, maybe some more things to work on, some kinks to iron out, and maybe some more connection on that offensive side to make sure that they can convert any opportunities that they can get on their defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new league. These are new teams. There's no, I think that because we've had Tempest as a team that had played before, we had some expectations, but really with this new league, everybody gets to write their own story as we start a whole new tradition.
And the Wild currently at the top of your standings, 2 wins, earning them 30 points plus the 6 statistical points so far, with Sarah Stoller registering a bunch of goals though, and Keston piling up the assists, as well as Corey Bingham. You'd expect that maybe they'd earn a few more stat points by the end of today. If you are a Utah Wild fan, you want them to continue to remain at the top of those standings, make sure to check your fan fantasy picks. Hopefully you're doing well, and go over to Instagram, WU League, and go like the Utah Wild photo to help them win that standings, help them in the fan Instagram contest there. So far, though, Wild looking good. We do have 2 more games for you later today. Coming up, we will have the San Francisco Falcons playing the Arizona Sidewinders, and our nightcap, the LA Astra playing host San Diego Super Bloom. We're going to send it down to the field with Jeremy Ziskin talking with Sarah Stoller. Jeremy, down to you.
Thanks, Jenna. I'm here with Utah Wild star Sarah Stoller. 4 goals, 2 assists. You pull out the big victory again. Some might call it an upset, along with yesterday's victory. What kind of statement did your team want to come out here and make about the quality of talent across the Mountain West?
Well, I think we didn't know exactly what to expect, but we come from a lot of states that work super hard. It's hard to pull in enough numbers to form a full, really nationally competitive women's team. But we have all competed against each other for so many years, and we see the talent, and it's just, I mean, it's a dream to be here, and really an honor, and I'm so proud of what we did today. And yesterday. It's been so much fun.
You know, this is obviously a very different format than most tournaments, you know, from the club season. So how are you liking the point system, individual stats, you know, categories? Did that play any role in how you came out and played, or do you like playing under these new rules?
You know, I think the new rules are exciting. Things move really fast. The pre-stall is interesting to kind of strategize, and we have an amazing coach that is thinking about all those little details, so I've learned a ton. I actually love it, and I love having one game a day where you can just pour everything you have into it, rest and mentally focus. So I actually love this format compared to the 8 games in a weekend where it's hard to maintain full energy for all 8 games.
You know, your team looks like they're in fantastic shape, running super hard and playing very aggressively on defense. What kind of conditioning do you do, you know, in Boise to prepare yourself for something like this? And if you do any kind of cross training, let us know how you're able to stay in such fantastic shape.
Well, I think a lot of us are deep into Goaltimate season, so we've been doing a lot of that. There's a lot of trail runners, a lot of backcountry skiers. I personally have learned to dirt bike in the last year and a half, and that I think has been an incredible workout for core and legs, so I think that's really helped me with quickness. I know it doesn't sound like something that would help, but yeah, we all do lots of other sports too, and I think that cross-training in the off-season really helps.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Congrats on a fantastic victory. We're going to throw it back to the booth with Jenna and Katie for the Discraft Play of the Game.
Thank you, Jeremy. Sarah Stoller there talking about the cohesion of the team. This is our Discraft Play of the Game. Steph Lim up the line to Alexa Ramirez. Great celebration there. Fantastic grab. We can see it on the sideline there. Just putting it out enough.
Just so pretty. Such great effort, and what a finish on that point.
Good defense there by Megan Maxfield as well. This was a fantastic game all around. Big plays from both teams. Looking forward to the next 2 games that we have coming up for you. Stay with us. Next up, the San Francisco Falcons taking on the Arizona Sidewinder. Should be a fun one. We'll be in San Diego the rest of the day. Stay with us. We're going to have some more amazing Ultimate on the way. One more time. Ramirez, great plays all around. We'll see you in just a bit for Game 2 at the Western Ultimate League's Winter Cup 2021.
Thanks for sticking with us.